Hi, everyone. Welcome to we're getting started with the Nobel broadcast with Wikimedia in Norway and some friends. I'd like to welcome Jan.
Good morning. It's very early for you, Richard.
Yes, it's early for me, so if I miss something, just it's okay.
Yeah, yes.
And
great.
Of course, our guest Astrid from Wikimedia Norway.
Good morning.
Is leading the effort there.
Yes. So, Astrid, you're the executive director for Wikimedia Norway.
I am.
Has been for a couple of years. How long have you been doing this Wiki Nobel thing?
We started in 2014. Was the first time we did it, and we did it every year since, in collaboration with the Nobel Peace Center in Oslo.
And when you started it, was it mostly like a volunteer effort, or was it Wikimedia Norway from the start?
It was, in the beginning, it was more a Wikimedia Norway effort. What we did was that we kind of changed the location of our office for that day. Mm-hmm. So we would sit at the Nobel Peace Center. They have a very, very nice museum, nice coffee shop. Yeah, so it was very, very welcoming and nice to sit there, and the staff would stop by, and the director at the Nobel Peace Center, we would show her how to edit. And then over the years, more and more volunteers have joined, and also by now there's kind of a regular group that are interested in joining from Norway. And of course, this year we're doing it in a different way because the center is not closed, but because of COVID and everything. So we're trying out this digital variation.
And what is the focus of the day? What do you hope to get out of it?
Well, I think it's two things, because it's a volunteer event, and it's a way of gathering volunteers and editing together. And of course, improve the content on Wikipedia. But for Wikimedia Norway as well, it's also a day where we try to do a lot of social media activity to tell the world that, to kind of use the Nobel Peace Prize as an example of how well and fast Wikipedia will be updated on a day like this.
Yeah, and I guess that is sort of the key, because this is one of the trickier Nobel Prizes, because it's sometimes a little bit out of the blue. You don't always know who's actually going to win the prize as much.
Yep.
Like, I guess one of the most easily to figure out this year was the CRISPR one that has been sort of high on the list for many years, but the Peace Prize is much harder.
Yeah, and I know a lot of volunteers, at least from Norway, they will read all the news articles and pay attention to the different university institutes that will come up with their shortlists. They will have edits ready. And of course, it's this is kind of the fun part of it, that if you manage to get the first edit, if the article exists, or if you write the first article.
Yeah, and is it also a bit of a race who gets to make the edit to the prize and the list?
I think so, yes. Yeah. So when we sit at the Nobel Peace Center and have volunteers with us at 11 o'clock Norwegian time, it's quiet in the room, and people are concentrated.
Yeah. I know it's a little bit of the same on the Swedish prizes, or on the Swedish Wikipedia for the prizes. And this year, I think it was a little bit slow on literature this year. It was 13:02, so 2 minutes after. That was the slowest one.
Yeah.
I think for physics on Monday, it was actually, the edit was 11:59. The official time for release was 12, so I don't know how it was.
Oh, that's quite a scandal. What's going on with the physics subcommittee?
Yeah, but I heard from previous years for literature that some editors have several tabs listed up and made the edits already, and when they hear the name, they just go to the right tab and click publish. Is
Yep.
it like that in your case as well?
Yes, I know some volunteers has done the same. They have everything ready. They can just press publish. Yeah.
And how historically, how large have these events been in, or like if you look at the attendance of people?
You mean how many will join?
Yep.
Well, at the Peace Center, this is during daytime, so not many volunteers have the opportunity to join. Often maybe students, but it's quite a small event. I think normally we are between maybe we're around 10 people or less. So it's not a huge thing, but of course, it's not a huge thing in the meaning that we're not many people there. Sorry, but of course many will be engaged online, and my colleague Jon Hagal is always very good at setting up different channels for communication and helping out.
And of course it is a huge thing in the impact side, because these articles will be read a lot over the next few days. How do you track the view number of viewers of the articles? How much do it usually differ?
We have normally check because of curiosity, and also some years we've written a blog post together with the Nobel Peace Center after the event to kind of tell the world the results, how many new article was written in how much time, how many views, as you said, to share this with the public. And of course, a lot of people still don't know that these are all volunteer efforts. There's no paid person sitting there and making all these articles. So this is something we try to tell during this day. Sometimes we have been visited by a Norwegian broadcasting company or Norwegian radio, and what we try to focus on is to use the opportunity to tell about the volunteer aspects of Wikipedia.
So perhaps you can share my screen, Richard?
I'll also add Andrew.
Join. Great. Good morning.
Hey.
Good morning.
How are you?
We're all good. We're just getting started here.
Excellent.
So this is the last year's winner, Abiy Ahmed. And if we go into the view history here, we can find a link to the page views. And let's see how much it actually spiked last year, just to get a sense of the scale of how much this is going to be viewed over the next couple of days. Now, it loads the 20 latest day. I'm going to change the date here as soon as I'm allowed to by the software. Oh, you can even see a spike for this one.
Yeah, people are looking at, who won last year?
So let's see if I can get to change the date here. See, let's take all the time. And we'll see by the spike when the announcement was.
This is some we have a long biography for. I guess they're active in politics for a long time.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's the spike. Wow. So up over, it tops out here at something like, do I get a hour here? No, but it seems to be in the order of 100,000 views on a day.
Yeah.
And from being there I get something. No. In the order of hundreds, going up to tens and hundreds of thousands. So even if you're just a few people sitting there their edits will have a huge impact.
Yeah.
And what do the Nobel Peace Center think about this collaboration? Have they published anything about it?
They have previous years. We have either they have written a blog post or we have done it together. And for them, it's a really they're very welcoming, and they contact us every year and invites us because, of course, for them it doesn't take much planning to host us. They give us coffee and cinnamon rolls, and we're happy. And but they see the impact of supporting this, and of course, for them, it's part of their mandate to share as much information as possible about the Peace Prize, and of course, collaborating with a Wikimedia affiliate and the Wikipedia volunteers. It's a very good way of getting the information out there.
Yeah, you go.
And we also done some other events with them throughout the year that has been connected to women and peace work, where we have focused on like the forgotten women from the Nobel Peace Prize history, and also worked with the Swedish embassy in Norway on this to help get more content about female nominees to the Peace Prize.
All right. And over the years, has there been any sort of fun surprises during these events?
Has there been any fun
or unexpected things like,
or something interesting from a Wikimedia point of view?
I'm not sure if this was fun, but well, in a way it was. When in what year was it? In 2015. We only done the event one time before, and it's 2015. We're sitting there and we're watching the live announcement, and they say, well, this year's prize will go to the Tunisian National Dialogue Quartet. And everybody was looking at each other and starting to search. And there was not that much information out there. And the one article we did that was already up on Wikipedia, I think, was in Arabic. So, of course, you have do you speak Arabic or not, to take that article as a starting point. So I think it was one of the most fun years, because in a way we're starting from scratch and building the articles, and it was very fun to see how it developed during the day and the next days.
Yeah, and that's also some hard things to do for a Wikipedian when there's not that much source material.
Yep.
And unusual because it's innovation from the committee side, since it's not a person but a quartet. Like,
yep.
How are we handling this?
Yes. And just also, I think, for the Norwegian languages to decide, well, what should be the name of the article? What will be like the right way to say this in Norwegian? So, yeah, that was fun.
I'm kind of hoping, I mean, just for purely Wikipedia purposes, I'm kind of hoping that it's something new, that it's something that doesn't have a concept yet, that it's either a person who's not very well known, or it's an organization or movement that's not very well known, and we can sort of develop it together and hopefully get some light on important peacemaking group of persons.
So for example, if it were like the School Strikes for Climate, which isn't even an organization, it's just an initiative. Well, that would be that would be difficult. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, here's some tips or hopes for winner.
Yeah.
Yeah. If,
So how's your shortlist, Astrid? What are you hoping for?
My colleague is hoping for the same winner as the viewer from New Zealand. I'm kind of hoping that the prize will go to the to one of the two. Yeah. Sorry, I'm at the public library.
Yes.
And they told me to keep my voice down. So yeah, soon I have to leave anyway. Sorry about that. I'm
no
hoping the committee to protect journalists or the Reporters Without Borders, that one of them will win. I think that's a topic that needs attention these days.
Yes. And before we let you go, is there a live stream we can tap into where this is happening, where the announcement is being made?
It's being made on the Norwegian National Broadcasting, NRK. Yep, they will be live from 11.
Perfect. And we can eavesdrop into that and get the news as soon as it enters. And for you being in a library, you can't really have the TV on, but you have a headset, perhaps. I
have the headset,
yeah.
And I've shared information about Wikipedia with the whole library now. So, yep,
that's good.
And please join. We made a Telegram group, Wiki Nobel. If you're interested, please join.
Yes, and for everyone all around the world, of course, you can join and edit in your languages wherever you are as soon as. And oh yes, and we're 4 minutes now, so we'll let you go to handle the stuff, and we'll take it from here. Good luck.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
All right, and Richard and Faris, it's very early in the morning for you, but you managed to get up anyway. Are you excited by this? No?
I'm excited. Yeah, I can't wait. I want to see who wins, and I want to see if they have an article, and I want to see if they have a Wikidata item, and I want to see how many languages they're in, and I think it might be interesting if it's something new. Like one of the options is it was listed as the Wikidata item for Sudan. I imagine it wouldn't be of course, there's been a sort of a peaceful revolution in Sudan recently.
Yep.
I'm sure it wouldn't be the country Sudan that would win. It would be something like the Quartet. It'd be some sort of group that made some difficult choices and helped bring peace. And that would be kind of interesting, I think, to win. We have some comments. People asking, who do you think will win? Is it like gambling? Do people have tabs open with likely winners? So that's from our Jacinda Ardern fan from New Zealand.
So in a way, for some Wikimedians, it is. Some people will be hot on the edit buttons and publish. And of course, like in all things in life, if there's something people are speculating about, there are bookmakers trying to make some money out of it. So I was looking at the odds the other days, and I saw that the WHO, I think that was the best odds, or would return lowest amount of money, so most likely to win, I guess. And on the second place, I think Greta Thunberg was on there. But surprisingly also, I think Trump was very low. But I think that reflects also a bit of hopes from people, how they're actually betting their money.
Yeah, so it's a good, like with any betting market, you can play the crowd, see what is irrationally popular or unpopular, and make some money that way. Although we don't endorse gambling at the Wikipedia Weekly podcast.
No. So we have now 2 minutes left, and then we're gonna see where we're going.
I think it's I forget the exact rules, but I think the rules maybe technically someone who's done the most for peace in the last year, but it's traditionally more cumulative. Is that right? And of course, I think the couple of the big issues this year are, of course, obviously the coronavirus crisis. The WHO is very relevant to that, and climate change is received even more attention because it's sort of like the coronavirus crisis, and it's one of these impending disasters that people have not been doing much about. And of course, obviously, the social and racial justice issues in the world getting a lot of attention as well. And we seem to have a lot of fans in New Zealand.
Yeah, I guess it's the good time for them, prime time.
Yeah.
I think the official award goes, or the statement is, done the most or the best work for fraternity between nations, for the abolition or reduction of standing armies, and for the holding and promotion of peace congresses. So I don't think it has to be the last year, but I think that's very common though.
Right.
I was also wondering if, there might be, and I guess WHO fits under this as well, if there might be some recognition of the HIV/AIDS crisis and groups that were active in that in recent decades.
Yeah, that seems plausible.
Do we have a live feed? Okay, so it's going to come up right on the screen and we're going to see it live. Okay.
Yes, and people have started
3, 2,
moving
1.
there, yeah.
Okay.
Let's see if someone opens the door exactly, if the Norwegians are on time.
Are Norwegians usually on time?
I think they are.
Okay, good. I have to get my Scandinavian stereotypes right.
Yeah. But we might also have a delay in the feed. I don't know.
My understanding is it's polite in Sweden to be a bit like 5 minutes early.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Oh.
Straight in the jacket.
Oh.
That was on backstage photo.
Okay, here we go.
Or the announcer? I'm not sure. Do we
Let
have
me know if you can hear okay. Can you hear okay?
We can't hear. It's not on. No sound is on.
Good
No, I
morning.
heard.
Oh, here now.
The need, the national solidarity and multilateral cooperation is more conspicuous than ever. The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided to award the Nobel Peace Prize for 2020 to the World Food Programme for its efforts to combat hunger, for its contribution to bettering conditions for peace in conflict-affected areas, and for acting as a driving force in efforts to prevent the use of hunger as a weapon of war and conflict. The World Food Programme is the world's largest humanitarian organization addressing hunger and promoting food security. Last year, the WFP provided assistance to close to 1 million people in 88 countries who are victims of acute food insecurity and hunger. In 2015, eradicating hunger was adopted as one of UN's Sustainable Development Goals. The WFP is the UN's primary instrument for realizing this goal. In recent years, the situation has taken a negative turn. In 2019, 135 million people suffered from acute hunger, the highest number in many years. Most of the increase was caused by war and armed conflict. The coronavirus pandemic has contributed to a strong upsurge in the number of victims of hunger in the world. In countries such as Yemen, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Nigeria, South Sudan, and Burkina Faso, the combination of violent conflict and the pandemic has led to a dramatic rise in the number of people living on the brink of starvation. In the face of the pandemic, the World Food Programme has demonstrated an impressive ability to intensify its efforts. As the organization itself has stated, until the day we have a vaccine, food is the best vaccine against chaos. The world is in danger of experiencing a hunger crisis of inconceivable proportions if the World Food Programme and other food assistance organizations do not receive the financial support they have requested. The link between hunger and armed conflict is a vicious circle. War and conflict can cause food insecurity and hunger, just as hunger and food insecurity can cause latent conflicts to flare up and trigger the use of violence. We will never achieve the goal of zero hunger unless we also put an end to war and armed conflict. The Norwegian Nobel Committee wishes to emphasize that providing assistance to increase food security not only prevents hunger, but can also help to improve prospects for stability and peace. The World Food Programme has taken the lead in combining humanitarian work with peace efforts through pioneering projects in South America, Africa, and Asia. The World Food Programme was an active participant in the diplomatic process that culminated in May 2018 in the UN Security Council's unanimous adoption of Resolution 2417, which for the first time explicitly addresses the link between conflict and hunger. The Security Council also underscored UN member states' obligation to help ensure that food assistance reaches those in need and condemned the use of starvation as a method of warfare. With this year's award, the Norwegian Nobel Committee wishes to turn the eyes of the world towards the millions of people who suffer from or face the threat of hunger. The World Food Programme plays a key role in multilateral cooperation on making food security an instrument of peace and has made a strong contribution towards mobilizing UN member states to combat the use of hunger as a weapon of war and conflict. The organization contributes daily to advancing the fraternity of nations, referred to in Alfred Nobel's will. As the UN's largest specialized agency, the World Food Programme is a modern version of the peace congresses that the Nobel Peace Prize is intended to promote. The World Food Programme, the work of the World Food Programme to the benefit of humankind is an endeavor that all nations of the world should be able to endorse and support. Thank you very much.
All right. So
Is that it? I guess that's it.
I think that's it.
Madam Leader of the Committee, in the announcement, you say that hunger is often used as a weapon in conflicts. Explain how.
Well, I think it's one of the oldest conflict weapons in the world that you can starve out a population to enter a territory. Parties in a conflict, if you get control over the food, you get also a military control and you get a better control of civilians. You can also use food insecurity as a method to chase populations away from their territory by burning down farms, destroying infrastructure, etc. So I think throughout all times, and unfortunately also in present day, this is a very active weapon in warfare.
And you also make a point that the World Food Programme is in great need of economical support. Do you think that this prize will be like an eye-opener and make it easier for the international community to contribute economically in a better way?
This is our sincere hope, because there is a connection of the increased hunger or the starving populations of the world today and the pandemic. There is an estimate of the World Food Programme that, given the budgets they have today, there will be about 265 million starving people within a year. So, of course, this is also a call to the international community not to underfund the World Food Programme. This is an obligation in our minds of all states of the world to ensure that people are not starving.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, how important is the corona pandemic for this year's Peace Prize?
The World Food Programme would have been a worthy recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize without the pandemic. But the pandemic and the challenges raised by the pandemic definitely strengthens the reasons for the prize. First of all, the pandemic has increased the need for food aid. And food aid is not always only edible foods. It's also protective measures, it's investments in local farmings. Some indigenous people have self-isolated themselves to protect themselves from the virus and cannot feed themselves. So that is definitely one point. Food is less available to some populations because of the virus. But the pandemic also shows us another very important factor, that multilateral cooperation is absolutely necessary to combat global challenges. And multilateralism seems to have a lack of respect these days. And the Nobel Committee definitely wants to emphasize this aspect. And it is a very important UN organization. And as the Nobel Committee sees it, UN plays a key role in upholding the humanitarian standards of the world, human rights, and multilateral cooperation on a large scale.
To what extent does food provide peace?
Well, lack of food definitely provides conflict, because there's a fight for resources is probably one of the most common reasons for conflict. Lack of food also provides instability in the population, naturally, because food is one of our most basic needs. And as I just recently mentioned, food is also used as a weapon. So, of course, lack of food increases conflict.
Anna Gestal, NTB.
Please speak up a bit. I know it's difficult with a mask.
Anna Gestal from NTB. What do you hope this prize will inspire to and lead to a little bit more specifically?
Well, first of all, we hope that this prize raises an awareness to all the starving populations in the world, particularly us who live safely in Western communities. We do not see hunger. We have not experienced hunger. And it is also absolutely necessary to have this awareness to raise the understanding that all the world communities have to contribute to combat hunger. And that's also a question of hard cash. All nations who are able will have to contribute to solve this problem. And it's not only providing foods, it's about creating sustainable communities where the food production is exactly sustainable and can support its people. And it's also, if food is the reason for war and conflict, creating food-secure communities also create safer communities with lesser, who are less prone to conflict.
As you know, there has been, as every year, a lot of speculations. And during this time of a pandemic, do you think that also this prize becomes even more important because the whole world is in a crisis we never experienced before, or at least not since the Second World War?
Definitely. And the pandemic shows that we are faced.
Okay, I think people can rejoin the press conference if they want later.
Yes. So a lot of activity on Wiki already, but there's still a lot of things to be done.
Should I share your screen?
So we can see here in the 2020 Nobel Peace Prize, it's already been updated. Let's check how quick they were. So 5 minutes passed here, and seems to be a user who was not logged in. That's interesting. So probably not from our Norwegian editors, because I guess they all have users and accounts. But of course,
yeah, and people, I'm sure there are people who have the understanding that you should update Wikipedia when something news happens, and they're not necessarily edit in a normal time.
Now let's check here. This was from before, so it wasn't in here earlier. We have the list up until 2019. So let's reload here and see if we get a picture, perhaps.
I guess the logo, I would
imagine.
imagine.
Yes, indeed. So here it was also updated.
It's one of these nice SVG logos.
That's very nice. And let's check how quick this list was updated. So it was 5 minutes for the main article, and the list article that was also 5 minutes, also by IP address. Quite interesting. Perhaps our Norwegian friends are only editing Norwegian Wikipedia.
Yeah. I'm sure they get around.
Yeah. And let's see.
Well, one thing that I noticed in the announcement that was interesting is the announcer spoke about food as a weapon in conflict and food in conflict in general. You know, the creation of famines by warring parties, and I noticed that at least on English Wikipedia, there is no particular article about this. It might be a good idea to create one as the challenge to the Wikipedia Weekly viewers out there, our loyal viewers, an article on, say, food and conflict.
Overarching, which you could go far back in history of as well.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of discussions, you know, going back with the Irish potato famine, Ukraine during the Soviet Union, and so they're controversial, right? You know, how much was this intentional? How much was this a deliberate weapon of war? How much was it part of the circumstances, which was exaggerated by the you know, persecutory policies? But definitely, that's been an active area of scholarship and something that people have been trying to fight, and World Food Program among others. That would be a great area for people to develop.
Oh, and here we see the source that has been used. That's the press release, but it seems to be missing a title. Let's see if I actually can edit that. And remove that ugly red text, angry template. I think I even had that source here. So this is the press release they referred to. So I guess this is what we can use for the title. Here, if it loads.
Oh yeah, maybe I'm just going to link to hunger as a weapon, or I'm gonna boldly link to it. So I'm going to suggest that someone start that article, and someone might revert me, but I think it's an important topic.
Indeed.
So I'm not going to use hunger as a weapon. I'm going to maybe use food in conflict because it's a little bit more general. Because food can also be, you know, food can also be like a way to prevent conflict in some ways, or, you know, to ameliorate conflict.
And over time, of course, as she said, that like a lack of food has been a source for conflict, and is, of course. You see a lot of nature catastrophes leading to a shortage of food, which leads in turn to more conflict and fight over resources.
Of course, that's one of the dangers of climate change. Has been the danger of climate change, you know, in the past. I mean, a lot of the various civilizations that have been troubled have been because of natural climate change in the past.
Yeah.
This is the article on food security, and I think, Richard, as you're saying, this probably, I would not recommend merging this with hunger. That's probably a very different, it's big enough to be on its own, right?
Yeah.
Proposed since August, so just 2 months ago, it was proposed to be merged, which, this is a huge article. I don't know why they want this to be merged with anything else. Gigantic, this article is.
And hunger, I don't think hunger is any smaller.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It's a hunch. Like,
that's a good point. Let's take a look. Hunger. Okay. And oh, it's not short at all. You're right. So do not merge two gigantic articles in general.
We have a nice section on, there's a section, the first section on hunger is definition or related terms, and includes hunger, you know, like some medical terms, some terms around sort of the political, social aspects.
Right.
There are a lot of, you know, seeming near synonyms in this area, which are helpful to elucidate. That's the type of thing that
that's very interesting. Also, you have the food insecurity.
Right.
Or
is that linked to the same as the?
It just links to food security. Wait a minute. Wait. Food insecurity links. It's a redirect, but it's interesting why that is chosen specifically as insecurity here. Huh. But this is one of the peculiar things. I don't know how it is in Swedish, Jan, is that a lot of times you have this, it has been suggested, discuss, and you see like no discussion. It's like, it doesn't really link directly to any real discussion. It just says, we should talk about this theoretically. I
think that's Mostly from people's habits. When I add those and not merging immediately if I'm unsure, I usually add something why I think one should be merged to one or the other.
Right.
Trying to say it's at least providing an argument for which one should be merged into which one, because that might not be obvious to everyone.
I might be bold and just remove it. Look at the strongly oppose, 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 strongly oppose.
Yeah.
And especially today, there's really no good reason to put these two together, given how long they are.
No, it's not. And also, this is a topic that is food security. Is a topic of debate in Sweden, since we import quite some food from abroad.
Is that right?
And thinking about climate change, and we should be, especially upcoming with the climate change, be resilient and try to start growing crops that could feed the entire nation.
Right. And also, just to remind you, if you're watching us on Facebook, we can see your name and face if you go to streamyard.com/Facebook. That's still kind of a weird quirk of the Streamyard system, is that the broadcasting system we're using needs authentication against your Facebook identification. Nothing else will be shared, just your name and your face. So if you go to streamyard.com/Facebook, we can see who you are. But yeah, this is definitely not a good case for merging. So if you want to see how the sausage is made in Wikipedia, we're going to go up and remove those boldly. I guess it would be nice. I should leave a note on the talk page just saying I removed them. But this one, I'm going to go do the source editing. Right. So we're going to go ahead and boldly remove this thing. And then if I'm being nice, I will go down here and leave an edit summary. I'll say remove, merge, notice. Both articles are big talk page. I'll say all opposes on talk page. I'm going to go ahead and I'll copy that so I can put on the other one as well. So I remove that notice. And then that's the food security. If I go back to hunger, there's one here. So I'm going to go ahead and edit source. And if I'm good, I should go back to the discussion and say I boldly removed it as well. So merge two, I'm going to get rid of that template. And then I'm going to put the same one there. There we go. So I would go to food security. And let's go ahead and go to that discussion, which is down here. I will say down here, I will go down and hit the edit button. And I will say, and I'll just say that's bolded, removed, merge, template, since I will say boldly.
Yeah, it would be a very tricky thing to actually try to merge them.
Yes, I should put that in there. Don't want to think about having to merge these. So there we go. So I'm going to do that. For folks watching out there, this is typically, you wouldn't necessarily do this so boldly so early, but I think there's so many opposes that it seems like there's no way this is ever going to get consensus to merge. So I think it's safer just to remove them right there. So what else should we be editing here? We can take a look. Go ahead.
You could take a look at the Wikidata items, perhaps, because they might not be updated yet.
That's a good point. So for folks who haven't seen a new look at Wikipedia, you can actually collapse this bar on the left-hand side. Are you two a fan of this or not?
I'm usually not a fan of it, but now that I'm thinking about it for streaming, it might be good.
Yeah. I bit the bullet. I did what they say. I dog fooded our own thing, meaning that I'm not using my own pet peeves. I'm going to go with what most people will probably see. And I actually like it. It's actually kind of nice. As you said, it's a cleaner look if you want it to be like this, or you can open it up over there, like kind of expert mode. So it's not bad.
So do you know if there's a keyboard shortcut for expanding and closing it? Because that would be very handy, because if you're scroll down and you want to go to the Wikidata item that you show now, you'll have to scroll back up and click that unfolding again. And
that is a good question. I don't know. Yeah, it's not obvious that whether there is a shortcut for that. That would be nice, though.
That would be nice.
Mm-hmm. So I brought the Wikidata item for Nobel Peace Prize. Well, we don't even have a description.
No.
Probably should translate it into other languages, too.
Indeed.
And it's not just an instance of an award ceremony, is it? It's more than that. Oh, it's got very few statements. Okay. Yeah, we should copy over a lot of these things from previous years. Okay, so we only have 2 there. Yeah, so let me go ahead and look at the previous one. We have... What do you think? Do we need all this historical stuff here just for this particular 2019? Do we need Inception, all these things?
No. That could be stored only on the Nobel Peace Prize main item.
Right. That's my feeling.
But you could go with the location, because that might change over the years. I think they have been in Oslo all the time so far, but you could imagine like they have to move it for some kind of reason.
Right. That's true. So we could just let me get rid of this banner here. We could go with I can't remember what gadget this is, but we have this little gadget here where you can copy a claim over to another item. So I'm copying this from 2019 over to 2020. So if I reload this, we should see that. There we are.
It looked like the move claim to user script.
Yeah, I'm always afraid I'm going to hit move claim. It's a destructive operation. I wish it was like a smaller button or something. So let's reload this. Okay, good. So we have country and location. Maybe just those 2 as a minimal thing. Let's see. One of the 5 Nobel Prizes as a description. Is that a good description?
I don't think it's the best description.
Yeah, it doesn't strike me as a great description. What was 2018's description? Is it been the same, or is it? Oh, ouch!
We have some work to do here.
I'm like, can we keep going years wise? Do we have a good description one of these years?
Hopefully.
No! Oh my God, we got lots of work to do here. We have to write a quick statements just to fix a lot of these. All right, I'm marching back. 2016. Oh. Wow. And it looks like each year has different sets of items. Sometimes it's conferred by Nobel Committee. Some years it doesn't have that.
Yeah.
I'm reaching back to 2015. Do we have a decent description anywhere? No. Whoa. What's going on here? We haven't done good here before. Yeah, we're going down the rabbit hole here. Oh, man. Well, this might be a good time to show people how to use quick statements, too.
Yes, we're getting up to the number of items. It's starting to get worth to doing it.
Yeah, okay. I'm like starting to make my Chrome groan here with tabs by going backwards. So let's go with more productive things here, let's say. But let's see. If we do go down further here, we don't actually have in the statements any pointer to the winner. Is that right?
So perhaps that's if you go up to the Nobel Peace Prize, I think there's a list over there. But here's a place where I think it might be worth storing the data twice.
Right.
Usually that's not a good idea, but since these are very separate items, there we have 135.
Right. I just recently installed this gadget that shows this, which is really useful. You know, how many statements you have for this particular property. But you're right. This is always a big question in Wikidata. like, do you repeat the content? And as you said, I think what you alluded to is that I like the statement that some folks say about Wikidata, which is also the statement they have about certain programming languages, is pragmatism over strictness. That's very, very big words, but it means that you sometimes have to repeat yourself. Well, not have to, but you should repeat yourself if you're pretty sure that's how most people are going to approach looking for things, right? Rather than saying, no, you can't have it twice, so you're going to have to find it tucked away somewhere in Wikidata.
Yeah.
When you're like, wait, but I'm looking at the 2020 Nobel Prize item. Nope, sorry, we don't store it there. So you're right. We might want to actually repeat ourselves in those situations.
And it's not an obvious thing that we should do that. Like, even though I think that resonates with a lot of Wikipedians and probably a lot of data scientists as well. Sometimes, like, pragmatism is good because if you are actually to find the data you are looking for, that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also, it gives us content depth. So if we need to update an error, we need to do it twice, or we'll have a discrepancy in the data.
Right. And there's also a little bit of hope that, you know, we'll have bots or some other things that will maintain that consistency or the linkages there. Even if it's not built into Wikidata, we'll have bots that help make those things. But I'd love to hear from the folks watching, Zico, Jane, other folks familiar with Wikidata. What do you think in these situations? Do we repeat ourselves and put the award winners both in the record of the year, but also the main Nobel Prize item? That's always an issue we're running into. Right.
But you mentioned a very good thing here, because we have a very similar thing for P39. Is that office, where we have it on the actual item for the person who is in office, but then we usually also have it for the organization, like who's the head of this, and we have the data twice. And user Varatas, I think, built a template called position holder history that you put on the person's talk page, and it actually compares to see if is it telling the same thing at both places, and lists the discrepancies so you can easily fix them.
Oh, nice.
So I think he's running a bot adding that where he can find them in both places. Which will make it much easier to keep it up to date.
Right. That's pretty cool.
But I don't think we have that yet for winner and prizes, which would be very handy, like have a winner history template.
Yeah, you could see that being generally useful for a whole class of prize type items, right?
Yeah. And probably a lot of other things as well, because whenever we'll sort of have a main thing and a sub thing where you want to express the same thing, I think even with events in general, you might want something like this.
Right. So I'm wondering what should we, like, if we fix this, do we reflect that out to each of the other year articles or items like that? We'll have to think about that. Okay, well, that's definitely on our to-do list.
Yeah. Did the Nobel Peace Prize get the World Food Program as a winner yet along these 135?
Good question. Let's take a look. Yes. Award rationale was put down here too. Interesting.
Different spelling than the English Wikipedia article on the World Food Program there.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because that was with program MME.
Right.
The UN has, I think, Oxford spelling, which is like British spelling with the IZE. So it's the perfect compromise. It's very wiki friendly.
Yeah, this one says MME. This one says MME. We probably should change it as the primary label if we award received. There we go. Follows. Is this the right follows?
So that was the last year's winner.
I guess is that right though? Should we put the actual winner, or I guess that, or should we put 2019 Nobel? I don't know. We'll have to think about that.
No, I think.
Is that the right thing? I guess it's the right thing.
Yeah, I think that's the right thing.
We have some the commons category is no ME, and then the main category is ME here. That's kind of interesting. Official website. Let's look at the official website. That should give us a clue. Yep, ME. We should probably do ME. Yep. So let's do that change while we're here. So basically, I wish there was a faster way to swap this with that. Do you guys run into that all the time? Like, I want to swap this with that, but I need to do this and then go.
Yeah, to make sure you copy it over and you don't want to lose one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's no drag and drop functionality.
Yeah, it's like I have two buffers and I need to swap them. Like, I need a third buffer to hold it while I do that. So it's kind of a.
We just made a large change on Swedish Wikipedia where we changed to Belarus for the country because we had an older name, which is literally translated to White Russia.
Oh,
and we switched that on entire Wikipedia, and of course we want to reflect on Wikidata, and then you might want to save the other one as an alias still because people might be looking for it.
yeah. I think they changed it in English about the time that Belarus became independent.
Yeah, we're slow in Sweden.
I think they might have been like, yeah, I don't know.
The discussion on Wiki has been going on for years, and huge discussions.
I mean, is there that much Swedish literature about Belarus? You know, I don't know.
Well, there are some.
Yeah, okay, I guess. Yeah.
Is there a better description? United Nations Agency. Who we are. Let's see who we are. What's a good humanitarian, saving lives, changing lives, delivering food assistance related to food. Should I say related to food assistance or food security?
I think food assistance is probably good.
Yeah, that's the wording they use, and they're about. So
yeah,
okay, good. Food assistance. Let's see what the completeness looks like for other languages. No description in German. No description. That would be a good thing for folks to do today, would be to make sure there's description in all their native languages or languages that you can speak or know about. Please do put a description in, because this is going to be in the news. Big time. Yeah, there's not a lot of descriptions there for this. Chinese is all missing.
You see the Swedish there? I loved how we just mashed them together to one long word.
What is FN:S there?
That's the UN.
Oh, that's UN in your initials there. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the colon used for in Swedish orthography?
In this, it's possessive.
Okay.
Interesting. I didn't know that. So Swedish uses colon sometimes or all the time for possessive?
Only for abbreviations, like when it's UN.
Huh. That's interesting.
And only if they're capitalized.
Really? That's a very specialized rule then. Capitalized acronyms use colon for possessive.
Now you probably do it with smaller, but you seldom see it in that case because yeah.
That's really interesting. I never seen
now people who knows actual grammar will complain in the chat. Hopefully, well, we have a few Swedish viewers. I see them. All right.
Finnish doesn't do it, seems like. So Finnish uses that same type of thing. Interesting. United. Although it's interesting that you folks go with the abbreviation. And in general, I tend not to rely on abbreviations in description if possible, since a lot of people may not know what UN means in a particular context. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a great thing in here, but I think that also might vary per organization.
Right.
And UN is often said as just UN, but FN in Swedish.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay, it's good. So we have 135 statements here for the Nobel Peace Prize. Subclass of Nobel Prize, part of, okay. Instance of Peace Prize.
Yes.
There's a Peace Prize.
There's a Peace Prize article. You can read all the Peace Prizes. There's a list of Peace Prizes. There's from...
But only Finnish has an article about Peace Prize.
Okay, but I think there's a list of Peace Prizes that's on English and other languages.
All right.
It's like one of these annoying things where how do you,
So can you see what links here?
What's that?
Yeah, let's look at what are the instances of Peace Prize or subclasses or whatever. Just what links would be the best way to do it. So it'll be.
What instance of Peace Prize do we have? You say?
Yeah.
Or just check what links are on there.
Yeah. Okay.
That'd be the fastest way.
Let's see. Yeah, there's lots of them here. Look at that. Confucius, Dresden, Albert Einstein, Stalin, Prize for Peace.
Yeah.
One person's peace, another person's non-peace. Let's see. What else do we have here? Wow, who knew there's this many peace prizes?
Adams for Peace, like Valesa Award.
So if you go to the list of peace prizes there, you can see how it actually links there.
List of peace prizes. Instance of list article is a list of peace prize.
Nice.
And then Library of Congress has an identifier, which is a list of peace prizes. Let's take a look at that. I'm curious. Peace awards.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, the LC is pointing to us too. Look at that list of peace prizes, peace awards, and that's OCLC concept there, or World Cap. Yeah, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so English, German, and Korean have the list articles.
Right.
And the English article does not cite any sources.
No, not at all. I mean, it's really bad.
Like, yeah.
Yikes.
It's kind of exciting.
Exciting or disturbing? Look at this. It really, literally has no references.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, it says at the top, and then you just look at this. There's not one. I mean, they're all. I mean, there are references in the articles that are linked to. So, list articles are a little bit funny that way.
Right.
But there should be. I imagine there should be sources.
Zoinks. Yeah, this is not good. I'm gonna put this in my watch list. Sure. Keep
the Jane Addams Children's Book Awards to a children's book that advances the cause of peace and social equality.
It says there it's a dynamic list. What does that refer to?
Oh, I get not technically dynamic. It just means that it's just changing a lot.
All right.
Yeah, it's not a listeria list, although it probably should be a listeria list at this point.
But I guess that's also a topic of debate still.
Yeah, so this is when you click on dynamic list, this is what you get. This is we've got kind of a terminology collision here because most people might think this is a list generated by Wikidata. No, it's not. It's just trying to tell you it's in flux.
Yeah, it's a word for incomplete. It's a set of so it's sort of like it doesn't necessarily have positive connotation.
Right. Interesting. We've got a note from Rajiv. I don't know if you put it up before. Repeat should be better. Yeah, I mean, I think in many cases like this, Pulitzer, Nobel, the biggies, I think putting it in several places makes sense. Yeah. Does anyone else want to drive and show some of the stuff that we should be editing? List of Peace Prizes is a good one, which I did not know about until today, which is good. I guess, how is the World Food Program article in general?
It's not that good in general. I mean, for a multi-decades-long UN agency, it's. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not very good.
Yeah, Ors gives it only a B, so it's not really a good or up to that point. And we can probably...
There are some like one sentence sections.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's not good.
I guess it's something that is important, but not very flashy. Unless there's like a famine or something, it doesn't always get that attention between crises. So this might be an opportunity for it to get a little bit of attention, maybe a little more attention to its history.
Yeah, when I see a long section heading like that, it gives me worries that it wasn't well thought out.
It always means that there aren't quite enough eyes on it.
Yeah, especially when it's that short too. Yeah, it's almost like a listicle here, right? It's just a bunch of items rather than sections.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shikwati, I'm assuming that person has been mentioned before. Okay, yeah. So look at this. So they quote Shikwati and then just use Shikwati down here. So it looks like it's one person, but it's based around one person's critique that's been turned into sections here. Yeah, and then this being so long is odd for section heading.
If you just Google that, will you get a perfect hit somewhere?
You're afraid it might be copy pasted from somewhere?
Yeah.
Let's find out.
Visually, it doesn't seem to be that phrase per se.
Yeah.
But it does seem to be derived from this one interview.
Yeah.
Mostly, yeah. For God's sake, please stop the aid.
All right. Rajiv is working on the Bangla language.
Oh, great. Ooh. You're not getting a...
Oh, you got a German language paywall?
So this looks like a interview from Der Spiegel.
I'm sure there are like some white papers that are about criticism of the World Folk Program that are a little bit more authoritative than the interview, probably by the same author.
Right.
Oh, yep.
Yes, according to him, not typical style here. Questions have been raised.
By whom?
Yeah, it's like always a little worrying as well.
Questions. I mean, that's by whom? What questions? I mean, it probably is addressing a legitimate point, but
Do you have that template on English?
Yeah, by whom? Yes, among other things.
I think we just have it as just template who. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have all the snarky
that's the name on
I'm sure that
Swedish
on Swedish Wikipedia and maybe some more.
Yeah, we do have this one. You can just insert a who.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's been some also in Macedonian language has been added some descriptions.
Okay, so here's the section on World Food Program in this interview.
Northern Sami. Yeah.
We don't want to dwell on all the bad things, but it's just interesting to see where some of the criticisms are coming from. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so that's one interview. Let's see what other things. Ooh, this is, again, as you said, Richard, like sections with one sentence, not great content. Okay, anything else we can think of? Hunger as a weapon of war and conflict.
So that was me. I decided to boldly red link that. It's I know people don't like red links nowadays. They think they're embarrassing, but I think they're an opportunity. So here I don't have time to create, well, at least not right now. I mean, I might be able to do it this week or something, but I thought we should have an article on that topic, and especially since it was highlighted in the awarding of the prize.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We actually have quite a few articles on famines and hunger disasters that were exacerbated or caused by war, sometimes intentionally, sometimes as a side consequence. And but there's no article on the general concept, which is what we're often missing on Wikipedia. People don't think to come from the particular to the general. So hoping someone is not too upset that I put in this red link boldly, and maybe decides to write a decent introduction to it.
Yeah, I think red links are an invitation.
Yeah, that's what it's meant as. It's not.
Yeah, it's it used to be an invitation, English Wikipedia. Nowadays, it's kind of like shoot on site, for better or for worse.
That's a little bit sad.
It's quite sad, actually. Yeah, but unfortunately, I mean, I guess it comes from a good place. The folks who don't like the red links because it shows an inadequacy with Wikipedia, and
I almost wonder if there should be like a function for like adding a red link to an article, like just like a couple of words, like what you should suggest about the red link, like what might have done here, because I don't have time to write and research everything, but just like some sort of footnote or something somewhere in the wiki space, text space, suggesting what this article should be about or could be about, or what maybe just the source or something.
You can add hidden text.
Yeah, I could add hidden text. I mean, it's not. I don't know if it's the best use for hidden text, but if there was like just a quick way to say, hey, here are 3 or 4 sources, and I can't quite start this article now, but hey, someone should.
Yeah,
that'd be
nice. Andrew, it might be interesting to take a look at the history just to see how much it has been updated today.
Oh, the edit history, yeah.
Yep, because it has been quite edited this morning.
Mm-hmm.
We have a helpful contribution from a Facebook user mentioning hunger as a weapon of war. I guess it's from the World Food Program U.S.
Nice.
Nonprofit. Right. So one of the sources. There's also some sources from the UN Foundation that cover this. I think it was. Did I share? I think I shared it in the Telegram channel. There was an article on a conflict and hunger, a worsening trend from the UN Foundation from 2018. Another potential source.
I think you do see this oftentimes is that when updating an article, right when a news is announced, you see it added multiple places, sometimes inconsistently, sometimes misspelled, and that's one of those examples right there. But it's kind of nice to see that pretty much all the IP editors, we all synonymously use anonymous, which is not exactly true, but the IP editors so far I've seen have all been productive editors, so they have not been vandalizing, which is a nice way to also highlight the fact that might be surprised a lot of folks. Portuguese Wikipedia this week turned off all IP editing. You cannot edit as an IP editor in Portuguese Wikipedia starting this week. That was kind of a shocker to a lot of folks, but according to them, they've been facing a lot of vandalism and not many people to help with either bot writing or automated ways. So they've decided in an RFC to turn off all IP editing. You need to register for an account to edit anything.
Well, I'm not a fan of this particularly, but one thing it is a natural experiment. So someone should be studying, how does Portuguese Wikipedia compare to, say, Spanish Wikipedia over the next 6 months?
Yeah.
It also highlights a little bit like it would be great if it was easier to port bots, because on English you have the Great Clue bot,
right?
And it's only active on English so far, as far as I know.
Is that right? I didn't know. I was wondering myself that I don't know how English Wikipedia could survive without ClueBot and the abuse filter. Like it stops.
Yeah, the abuse filter is great.
Yeah. So folks didn't know there's a lot of just junk does never even get saved to Wikipedia to get undone because there's an abuse filter, which has got like a whole bunch of things like, 20 years worth of data about what words are added and what, if you start adding phone numbers of known spam things, they're not even saved onto.
Is that a thing? People spam phone numbers to Wikipedia? Like, why would anyone do that? Like, even if you saw like a weird phone number on Wikipedia, why would you call it? You're like, pick up your phone. And you're I'm going to call this number.
You know, the thing about spammers is they only need to be right like 0.001% of the time, and they get some benefit out of it, right? So they're just going to spray and pray phone numbers, websites, things like that. I found some vandalism in Wikidata just yesterday where someone replaced the Wikidata item for HTTPS, you know, like hypertext transfer protocol secure, with a URL. So they're just trying to get exposure to their bit.ly link or whatever on the HTTPS thing. That's kind of a weird, unique spam there.
That's linked to from everywhere, I guess. So that's
yeah,
should take advantage of something.
But we see some familiar names here in the edit history.
Yep. The latest one is, well, you have Jon Harald there from the actual Wikimedia Norway Nobel event.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, guys, I need to grab my bike and bike across town. I'll go look at a new apartment.
Well, good luck.
Good luck, yeah.
And thanks for this morning.
All right. Thanks for anchoring it. Thank you.
Yeah. See ya.
All right. Take care. We'll just hang on for a little bit longer, just looking at some few things, and then we'll sign off and let folks go to edit. Anything else we should be looking at? I think this is going to be edited all day today.
I think there's anything happening on the talk page.
Good question. Let's go look at the talk page. We should probably do we have a Wiki Project Nobel Peace Prize? Do we add it to that? I don't know.
Well, there's a question about there's a question on the talk page now about what year was it established. There's a note that it should be in British in Oxford with Oxford spelling because it's a UN agency, which is very important.
Is there a way to note that on the talk page?
Yes, it's way at the top. So look at the top.
Okay.
So, here we go. British English, which is Oxford's, which is it's basically like I mentioned before, it's British spelling, but using the IZE, which is popular in American spelling usually, which is the Great Compromise of the United Nations.
Right. Yeah, and so for folks who are kind of new to thinking about this, and in English Wikipedia, we have effectively, correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, we've effectively said never will we split English Wikipedia into Canadian, British, and American English. We're just going to have them all live in this world, and whatever spelling makes the most sense for that topic, or kind of whoever gets there first for ones that are neutral.
Yes. So that's always fun. Like, if there's like a new concept, or if there's, something like, I don't know, something like that's not covered elsewhere, you sort of get the first person's rights.
Yeah, there's some homesteader rights for topics that are not obviously British or American or Canadian or whatever. So I hate to say it, but probably Americanisms win most of the time when there's all else being equal, just because of numbers of American.
There's quite a few in the color and labor universe that have been staked out by the Commonwealth spelling. So that's nice as well.
Right. So establishing year.
Yeah,
we should try to tackle this real quick.
Which one is true? 1961 or 1963? What's usually the case here is that they're both true. Is that there was it was planned to be the resolution was made in 1961, but was implemented in 1963, or something like that.
Right.
But let's see if we can figure it out.
That there's a split in terms of history. Here we go. In terms of when it was, so he established, and then when it was launched. There's different things.
I see. Oh yeah. So the first program which is in Sudan, was launched. So okay, that should be clear.
Yeah. So let's check that out here first. Let's make sure the Wikidata is right first. How about that? World Food Program. So Wikidata is going to say what? It's inception, 1961. No, we're not going to use that. I hate this. Okay, we're going to remove the imported from German Wikipedia is not a reference.
Yeah, how is that a reference? I mean, there should be some sort of. I mean, it's ubiquitous. It's absolutely ubiquitous. And I don't know. There should be some. I mean, maybe it is a helpful, I guess, point that it comes from German Wikipedia. We should scrape from German Wikipedia, not German Wikipedia as a source.
Yeah, exactly.
We're honest in our sources here.
Drives me nuts. Yeah, I want a real reference, not a. We found it somewhere.
So yeah, I see it. It's in the first section. If you go to the first section of the article in English, it says established in 1963, which is wrong.
What?
Yeah. So that should be fixed. So it was established in 1961, and then its first, well, presuming that the official website is correct, its first program was in 1963 in Sudan, which I wonder if that was a particular crisis in Sudan or not.
Right. Okay, so the funny thing is they link to the World Food Program itself, the About page, which no longer exists. That's kind of weird. Like, why would they have a dead link to the About page? They might have reorganized the site at some point, but that's a bad thing. That's such a standard link to have on a website. You should at least
so this is interesting. We should definitely put this in the article. So I don't know if you want to edit it now, but apparently it was started in 1963. It was started when people were resettled from the Lake Nasser being created and the waters rising. So the World Food Program, that was the first project it actually participated in.
Oh, okay. I'm going to change the main date first, and then you can add some nuance. How about that?
Yeah, okay.
Let me see. I'm going to change this first to 1961. I'm going to obliterate this thing, which is not right. It's going to be UN Food Program. I'm just going to say history. Like that. And then I'm going to go in and add that. Okay, excess dates. Is there a way to fill in today's date? Not really.
Yeah, there are 50,000.
07? No, it's 08. 09. A lot changes. Okay, so we have a real reference there. We've changed it. So I'm going to say changed, established date to 1961, and hit publish changes. So why don't I hand over? Are you screen sharing?
I'll screen share now.
Okay, once you screen share, I'll go back to the talk page and notify the person who asked that question. Establishing year. I will go in here like a nice person and go in here and say.
Okay. Let's go see. Here is the World Food Program, established in 1961. Yes, it's okay. I'm going to click here. It was not formally established. I'll say its first program was in 1963. That's more accurate. Its first, yeah. Blah 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 blah. I'll say it launched its first program. Launched its first program. This is probably a strange way to do it, but I'll do it for now, and then I'll link to the project in the Sudan. So supporting the Nubian population
in Sudan. Right. It's the first. It says the first development program was launched in 1963 for Nubians in Sudan. So established versus launched. And I guess in Wikidata, that's a little bit more complex to put in there. Yeah.
So I'm going to link to Wadi Halfa. It also there should be a link to the possibly a link to the Aswan High Dam, but I'm not going to do that right now, and I'm not going to do a source because I'm just doing quickly.
And then you want a third date to make things more complex?
Sure, yeah.
In 1965, it was enshrined as a fully fledged UN program, and it was to last as long as multilateral food aid is found feasible and desirable. So, it's established, launched, and then enshrined.
Okay. Yeah, it says in 1965 it was extended out to a continuing basis. I don't actually know. That might be the language to change it, but it's sort of in there. It's sort of in there now, but
right.
I'm not sure how to change it.
The history article on their site is not even using really formal terms. It just said enshrined as a fully fledged UN program. It didn't really describe what it was before. If it wasn't a fully fledged program, it was.
Well, it says there was a 3-year basis, 3-year experimental basis. So that's,
okay, cool. So that's.
Anyway.
Oh yeah. Oh, as an experiment to provide food aid. Oh, and Eisenhower was the one who requested. That's really kind of cool. That might surprise a lot of Americans who.
There's also some Cold War rivalry there,
Mm-hmm.
because the Soviet Union supported the Aswan Dam, and perhaps it was in Eisenhower's interest to highlight some of the negative effects of that.
Right. Good point. Okay. Well, that was the launch of the Nobel Peace Prize for 2020. So folks, keep on editing. There's a lot to do. What did you think, Richard? Like the World Food Program article needs work.
Yeah, it definitely needs work. It could use a lot of support. Obviously, I'm sure, of course, there, unlike some of the topics, this is a very long, well-established topic. There are a lot of sources. So, you know, the World Food Program article does show some of the signs of being only aided by a relatively small number of people, but hopefully more people come to it and give a fuller and fuller history and description of the World Food Program, its highs and lows over the years. Yeah, and I'm surprised that we didn't even mention that it started with the program by the Aswan Dam, which is quite interesting. And I'm sure there's quite a lot more that could be added.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, well, thanks, folks, for watching and tuning in. And if you want to do Wikidata, almost all those yearly Nobel Peace Prize items don't have descriptions in them. So that's certainly something that could be done. And as we talked about whether we need to not just have the winners listed in the one Wikidata item about Nobel Peace Prize, but break them out into each year, that would be nice, especially if it was done in some automated manner. So there are some tools that we have for maintaining or at least checking on that bidirectional linking. So take a look at that too. All right, any last words, Richard?
Oh, yeah, please look forward to editing. Hopefully people can engage on this topic. Hopefully it's not just this one article, but people look at hunger and food security as a whole on the different Wikimedia projects. Maybe this might be an opportunity to develop those. And it's particularly relevant this year because there's a lot of side effects from the COVID crisis. There have been some good articles actually about that. I'm not sure if there is an article on COVID and hunger. There probably is, but I'm sure that could use help too.
Right. And if you're watching us for the first time, do subscribe on YouTube to us, where we are putting out a lot of content around this time. There's a lot of events now happening in the fall, in America at least, from October through the end of the year. This is typically our big event season, right, Richard? Like, for some reason, traditionally, last few years, we've had a logjam of before COVID-19, like a real life conference.
Yeah, October is always the most popular year for Wiki-editathons, time of year for Wiki-editathons for whatever reason. I think it also some peaks. There's also some peaks in the spring, in the northern hemisphere spring. Apologies, New Zealanders. Yeah, and so hopefully we can find some ways to work things out this year. I still think that the in-person participation is important, very important part of the movement, and hopefully we can come back to that probably in the second half of next year. But in the meantime, I'm glad we can help support the community through venues like this, and if people have other ideas, I'm glad to help support them.
Yeah, and just watch out for some things that are coming up. There's Wikidata is having a whole bunch of editing activities coming up. We just had CEE, right, Central and Eastern Europe. So this is kind of high season in the Wiki movement for editathons and meetups and things like that.
That's nice. So I participated in that. So the Central and Eastern European meetup is it's a group of affiliates and chapters in Central and Eastern Europe, also including say Greece and Turkey, the Caucasus, and they had their annual meeting this year online, and it was also translated simultaneously into English and Russian. So that was nice as well.
Great. So yeah, subscribe to us on YouTube, or you can go to the Wikipedia Weekly Facebook group, or follow us on Twitter. And we'll see you next time on the Wikipedia Weekly network. We'll be bringing a whole bunch of other types of programming soon. All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye.